Hello everyone. This was a good week of chapters despite there being no One Piece, as Undead Unluck continues to surprise me as it's one of the more intriguing and entertaining series going right now. So we'll be starting off with Black Clover chapter 342, and this was a good chapter showing the quote-unquote true backstory of Yami as told by his little sister. As we see, Yami's father was downtrodden and wished he was in a better position after his family, the Yami clan, were given a portion of land to defend after they were pivotal in saving the land of the sun from an ancient battle. And so they're given this area which ends up being unprosperous, and so the father is unhappy, and Yami shows great talent from the get-go, but ultimately has no interest in it. He is close to his sister early on, and as well as the Shogun, as they more or less banter about and so on, and then she recalls the time that he killed everyone in their clan except for her and the Shogun before all but disappearing. Asta hears this whole tale and does not believe it, deciding to believe in the Yami he knows instead of the Yami that is told here. Yami's little sister is less than pleased to hear that and decides to fight Asta for real, using every ounce of her power, coating herself in black armor that is seemingly her magic as she pulled out her magic scroll, and plans on fighting him genuinely for real. So it'd be interesting if Asta can hold his own or if someone comes in to save the day. What I assume is that the Shogun will somehow arrive and finish what she doesn't know, as he had learned it, whatever, that Yami did it for, I don't know if it's a just reason, but a reason that at least is a bit more understandable than him just killing everyone. Though the father did seem to be a bit of a unlikable individual, and I wouldn't be surprised if the father was going to do something, but Yami decided to stop it and turn into a bit of a villain. And now it explains why he just so randomly washed up on shore of the Clover Kingdom, as he had to flee the land of the sun. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was good seeing this backstory, some of the truth, as well as seeing that Asta won't believe it. A lot of it's pretty predictable thus far, which isn't a bad thing. It's more or less what you'd think would have happened. If it went any other way, it'd be a little ridiculous. So it'll be interesting to see just how powerful Yami's sister is compared to Asta, as she was powerful before, but now using all of her might. I wonder how Asta's going to be able to handle it. That fight should be interesting, as well as to see if it goes full out, or if someone comes in to break up this battle here. Or if Asta somehow wins, which would be rather funny. It'll be interesting to see if we ever find out the true truth of what Yami did, or if it's still left up in the air that Yami is just sort of a bad person that killed his clan but left his sister alive. So a lot of intrigue and a lot of interest here, a lot of interesting things here with various different avenues it can go, but right now we have a big battle between Yami's sister and Asta. Now we're on to Mission Yozakura Family, chapter 152, and this was a good chapter showing that Momo is indeed a very evil villain by having it that Kengo's reverse brainwashing one to save Shinzo does not work, as Momo is able to stop the process of freeing Shinzo and is pushing back against Kengo's ability and is seemingly happy to see how talented he is. So there's that. I was right about that. We then see that Kengo is still trying to save him even though he's battling Momo at this point for control of Shinzo. It then cuts to the battle with the eldest brother, Nanao, and Futaba, seeing that Futaba is very powerful using her Blossom ability, her ascended power, and the eldest brother is not doing so. He is saving it for Momo. So Futaba believes that they can't win unless the eldest brother does it, but the eldest brother is holding back, and it is now going to be up to the youngest brother, Nanao, and Shion to take on Futaba, as all three of them are now going to use their ascended power, their blossoming. So that fight should be pretty interesting, as the eldest brother will most likely slip away and try to find Momo. So it'll be interesting to see how this fight pans out, as we're going to see the full breadth of everyone's powers. So it should be pretty interesting. Overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was good seeing that Momo is a bad person and was able to stop Kengo's ability from saving Shinzo and cause that avenue of success to be be mitigated, meaning that at this point maybe beating Momo is the only way to save the other siblings, which would be quite the problem if everyone else continues to be brainwashed in time. The other major thing that I had noticed was that it does seem as though the brainwashing alters their personalities a little bit. Futaba in this seems extremely aggressive compared to her normal self, even toying with everyone and belittling them, looking down on just about everyone. It's an interesting wrinkle and twist on her character, and it was the same with Shinzo as well, being extremely aggressive instead of passive as he usually is. It'll actually be pretty interesting to see how the others' personality shifts when they're brainwashed, but for now we got these two. And again, it's leading to Momo being the one to be defeated to save the family. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen next, but for now, on the immediate horizon, we have this battle with Nanao and Shion versus Futaba, so I'm curious at how their blossoming powers clash and see who ends up the winner here. So it should be fun. It should be pretty interesting to see how this battle unfolds and who is the next brainwashed character. So now we're on to Undead Unluck chapter 133, and this was a great chapter showing the continuation from last week as Fuko continues to save the author of the manga by taking the pen and putting it into a case, and then showing that Fuko has her own Uma at command that allows them to travel from place to place, showing that she has quite a bit more power than before, which I think was very fun to see that she has her own Uma on command like many of the others did, showing that she's already had quite the journey as she's now nearly 200 years old, as she'll be 200 years old by the quote-unquote start of Ragnarok. And so she explains what happens and talks to the author for a while and saving him for the most part before returning him to his mom, and he is more or less out of this story because his power wasn't overly useful, and she plans on saving everyone she can that she knows of from all of their grisly fates, from Nico losing his wife to Shin's fate as a child losing his sister, and everyone else's fate that we've seen thus far with Top and so many others. So it'll be interesting to see how she does that as she pulls out her roadmap to know where to go in these various places. It'll be interesting to see how she succeeds, as well as we find out that her and Andy have not met once in this, as Andy is busy finding artifacts and probably other Umas as well, where she is off trying to recruit and or save all of their friends. So her first target is Nico and Gina. So it'll be interesting to see Gina's past, what triggered her power, as well as Nico, seeing more of him in the early days. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter an A. It was pretty great, just continuing this new Fuko. I think her character development from the beginning of the story to now has been excellently done. I think it's pretty incredible. I really enjoy Fuko as a character, as she is now very much more veteranized and nothing takes her off guard. So it's really fun to see her being powerful and assertive while still being the same kind-hearted Fuko. I think her development has been very well done, and I enjoy the story immensely. I think it's one of the better stories in Shonen Jump right now, and I look forward to seeing it continue. I also think it's rather nice that they decided to separate Andy and Fuko to show that they had different strengths, let her grow on her own, especially in a world where she doesn't age, so she has to now go in a similar vein through the same things that Andy did, but she's seemingly very much matured from it, and she's very veteranized, yet still the same Fuko we know. So it's very good. We also find out that the last artifact they need, the heart, she assumes spawns in the 101st loop, meaning they still can't get it, but they can't loop into the next one, it seems. So I'm curious to see what's gonna happen here and how they're going to succeed. There's a lot of intrigue here, but for now we have an exciting arc ahead of us with Fuko saving all of the under and union members that she can, growing the union to an exorbitant degree. So I look forward to seeing how that all happens. Now we're on to Mashle, Magic and Muscles chapter 130, and this was a good chapter showing the conclusion, quote unquote, of Order and Rain versus Doom, as Doom clearly overpowers them. He beats beats them both pretty good, and when all hope seems lost and it looks like they're about to completely lose, Ryo, the leader divine visionary, arrives and saves the day to a degree, kind of distracting Doom. Doom eventually hits Ryo and thinks he's won, but Ryo was able to block the hit and then hit Doom back, leaving a mark. So clearly Ryo, whether because he's been not fighting anyone, so he's the freshest of them, it was able to attack and hurt Doom. So that was interesting to see that he is probably the strongest of the visionaries, which I wouldn't have seen coming necessarily. So it'll be interesting to see how this fight goes and how much more powerful Doom gets to fight against Ryo. We also see that the key turning is not going all that great, and the Blade Visionary is worried about his fellows up in the castle and wants to probably help, but knows he has to be right where he is to try to revive Mash. I wonder when Mash's teacher, quote unquote, reemerges and finishes off the key. I wonder when that'll happen. But for now, Mash is very much stuck. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was good seeing this battle and where Ryo and Doom stand, as they're both evenly matched thus far, where Order and Rain could not do much, but admittedly all the other visionaries there couldn't fight to their fullest because they just fought other children of Innocent Zero. So I wonder what's going to happen if they heal whatever to help Ryo eventually, or if this is just a straight one-on-one with Ryo and Doom. That would be pretty funny too, but we'll have to see. That fight itself will be very interesting to see how long it stalls out and just how powerful Ryo and Doom to a degree are. But we'll have to see, as well as how long is it going to be for Mash to heal? How long is the key turning going to take? Lots of questions and most likely ridiculous answers to follow. So now we're on to Sakamoto Days chapter 93, and this was a good chapter showing the invisible guy had planned to trick the masochist into giving over the information he wanted and giving the masochist nothing. The masochist was able to see through this and more or less force the invisible guy to show him where the database was. The invisible guy continues to lie to the masochist and eventually gets seemingly the upper hand until the masochist shows just how dominant and powerful he is by one-upping the invisible guy after the trap the invisible guy laid was thwarted. When the masochist has the upper hand, he reveals just how powerful his hypnosis is by forcing a small hypnosis to work, and then eventually was able to completely control the invisible guy. When that is underway, the invisible guy and the masochist go and attack Shin's group, where Shin, the database, and the database's grandson are now in a very deadly conflict with the masochist and the invisible guy. What I imagine will happen is that Shin and the invisible guy have to go toe-to-toe once again, this time no backup for Shin, and it'll end up being the database and his grandson versus the masochist. Now, it'll be interesting to see if Sakamoto and or Akira can arrive to save the day, or if someone else does, or if the masochist succeeds, and I wonder what'll happen after that. So a lot of intrigue and a lot of intriguing things are going on here, but for now we have a major conflict with the masochist and the invisible guy versus Shin's group. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was good seeing that the invisible guy did not purposefully betray Shin and co, but ends up accidentally betraying them by giving away their location, as well as now being forced to fight them, being brainwashed by the masochist. The masochist is an interesting villain character, given that Slur continues to find the weirdest of people, but he is surprisingly more powerful than the early introduction to him would have suggested. Now, that also leads that the rest of Slur's group is incredibly powerful, so Sakamoto's really going to need to train up, as I don't think anyone in his crew can actually help all that much. Especially right now, as many of them may have the potential to one day, but the only people that can actually help here would be the Order members and Sakamoto, which at this point is a little bit leading to the good guys being underdogs, which I guess you'd want, but maybe even it out a little bit so it's not quite as implausible when Sakamoto beats Slur. But for now, we have a good fight here, and it'll be interesting to see how much Shin has grown, as the last time the Invisible Guy and Shin fought, Shin barely won because of Sasaki's help. So it'll be interesting to see how this battle comes to an end, as there are two different and very distinctive choices here, with Slur succeeding or Sakamoto's group succeeding. So that was all of the chapters. It was a good week where pretty much every story started a new battle, with Black Clover having Asta versus Yami's little sister, Mission Yozakura family, where Futaba versus two of her siblings, Mashle having Ryo and Doom go one-on-one finally, and Sakamoto Days having it that now the Invisible Guy and the Masochist go against Shin, the database, and the database's grandson. It'll be interesting to see who wins these conflicts and how many chapters it takes for them. So now for everything else, My Hero was fine, as we get to see more of the battle everywhere else, as this story continues to feel like it's stalling the end, reminding me of Bleach at its end point of manga life. So when we hear that My Hero only has X amount of chapters left, and it doesn't feel like they're even close, I will not be surprised. Jujutsu Kaisen was fine, Blue Box was fine, The Elusive Samurai was good, as we continue to see more of the villains mobilizing and the heroes celebrating their early victory. P times 6 was good. Lucky ended up playing just a regular tune that he had planned to do, and not unleashing his inner evil Lucky, which I was surprised by, but at the end of the chapter it left on a major note of, it looks like Lucky's mom has reached her breaking point, and so now we'll see how this affects Lucky. And Ginka and Luna was good, as we see that Luna is extremely powerful, being able to overpower the young trainees of the villain character, and eventually making her way to where the villain character is, and it looks like they're going to fight. So it'll be interesting to see how this fight turns out and what happens in it. So that was all of the chapters. They were all very good. I look forward to seeing what next week has to offer, and it seems as though we'll have One Piece back, so it should be a good week overall. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and as always, thank you for watching.